Fatin.
Hi, Priya.
Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. For everybody that's watching this, Fatin's sitting in Lahore and I'm in San Francisco. And Fatin and I actually went to school together. We were a few years apart. Fatin was a few years junior to me, but we had a lot of friends in common then and have since reconnected because she is working in tech in Pakistan and is a little bit of a trailblazer as being one of the few female founders out there. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, Priya.
Fatin, tell me a little bit about your company, WebWorks, and how that got started and kind of what the story is behind that.
Okay, so I've been doing WebWorks for about 6 years now. Before that, I worked with Rocket Internet, which was Rocket. It's a German company, and it's actually an e-commerce incubator. And they launch different marketplace models, successful marketplace models in emerging markets. So Pakistan. So they came into Pakistan in 2012, and I was part of the initial, few people that they hired. So all my experience has just been in e-commerce, right? 2 years after being on Rocket, I left, and my partner Adam, he went on to launch Kareem in Pakistan. And we went over lunch one day and we realized, so when we were working at Rocket, like that was pretty much the beginning of e-commerce in Pakistan.
Yeah.
You didn't have any brand.coms, which was, brands having their own individual e-stores. It was just a lot of different marketplaces selling, electronics and this and that. So by the time my 2 years came to an end at Rocket, a lot of brands had started, trying to have an online presence. And we saw that the people facilitating them came from strictly software backgrounds. No one really came from an e-commerce operations background. So that's where we saw that there was, definitely a gap in the market that we could fill with our e-commerce operational experience. And that's what brought about WebWorks.
Awesome. That's fabulous.
Yeah. So at WebWorks, we do, so it's actually 360-degree like turnkey e-commerce solutions. So we design, build, run people's e-stores. They completely outsource it to us. We manage all the content. We manage all the performance marketing. We run our own call center. We help with last mile fulfillment support. We act like a liaison between the warehouse teams and the different, third-party logistic partners. So just the whole thing. People just pretty much outsource it to us.
Wonderful. Awesome.
And you get to learn, yeah.
Yeah. And you've been in business 6 years, huh?
Yes. Sixth year just started.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
So much to learn. Yeah.
I same situation with me. I completely stumbled upon tech and, right place, right time. And now I can't imagine not being a part of this industry. So
exactly. I remember when I started out, in fact, I think they wanted fresh grads. They wanted fresh people who they could train.
Yeah.
There was no e-commerce. There was no 3G license in Pakistan back then. I remember the 3G license came like in my second year, so there was no mobile, shopping. Like there was nothing, So I guess, right time, right place.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it's such an emerging market with Pakistan right now, honestly, like all of Asia, but Pakistan is special.
Pakistan is one of the most exciting markets. Yeah, no, Pakistan is definitely in terms of, just our internet penetration rate, our smartphone adoption rate, adoption rate.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of the most exciting emerging markets out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also just like what's happening with brands and media and a lot of the multinationals that are coming in as well, there's a lot of money that's coming into the economy. And so I've been following that recently a little bit. When I left Pakistan, there was no concept of e-commerce or any concept of really tech companies even. And so I didn't come home for like 10 years. And then I came back last year and realized like there's this whole emerging market that I wasn't aware of, honestly.
Very exciting space, for sure.
Awesome. So as you kind of transition out of Rocket, decided to start your own gig, what was that like? So you're a woman, you're in Pakistan. You said your father wasn't too excited or your parents weren't too excited that you had gone into this field. What was it like kind of being a female founder in that environment?
Oh God. Okay. So, so basically it was all sorts of things that came my way, right? It was, you know, first of all, just being a woman in the industry in terms of going out and getting clients, the clients did not want to see a girl. They did not, it was just pretty much like, you're a girl, how can you know tech? And I used to be like, okay, guys, this is a regular business. Tech is just a component of it, right?
Right.
But forget my experience, forget anything else. It just did not want, because it would be, so when we'd be pitching for clients, it would be us versus other software houses with like very serious looking Malvi. Also, all the software houses are filled with like Malvi looking uncles, right?
Yeah.
So people working in the MIS departments of the different textile houses that we were pitching to also had these Malvi looking MIS uncles. They weren't very comfortable like having me in meetings. They didn't trust the fact that my company could do anything just because a girl ran it. So that's a little problematic. And even in terms of my own team members, even right now, so we have a team of about 70 people now, mashallah. And like we have like 12 girls, the rest are all men. And I mean, now everything's fine because my partner is very, very supportive. And he also really helped me out in terms of like, he's just someone who was like, no, guys, she is the person you go to for XYZ. Initially I had a lot resistance from my own team, because if it was tech related stuff, they would just be like, "Ha, hum Adam bhai ko bata denge." They thought I was just there to sign their checks and
Yeah.
deal with plumbing issues or their tea issues. Kya chai mein doodh hame kam mila? So I'm just like, are you kidding me? Or
So
please,
for those people that are not Urdu speakers, basically what Ahat is saying in that moment here is they would just come to her to be like there was too much milk in their tea. So they would
there
come
wasn't.
with housekeeping issues.
Yeah, just housekeeping issues, right? Like there wasn't enough milk in the tea, the plumbing isn't working properly in the bathroom. So initially I'd be like, okay, but this is not all I'm really sitting here for, right? And if it was ever like, if I ever followed up on any tech related issue or something to do with a client on the tech side, it used to be like, oh yeah, we have it under control and we'll talk to Adam Bhai about it. And I used to be like, no, you're going to talk to me, you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of resistance in terms of, not resistance, just I guess my team, it took them a while to get used to the fact that there is a girl they can report to, because in the tech industry there was no girl in a leadership position who they had worked with, at least my team members had worked with in the past before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting, it's been all sorts. Yeah, even now, Priya, it's been 6 years. Even now I go into meetings and they just assume. So when me and my partner go together, they're like, oh, so you probably look at the design side of things. And then Adam, we're going to speak to him about the, tech platform and what platform to use and what integrations to do. And I'll be like, I'm not a designer. I've never even used Photoshop in my life. Okay. I do not look at the design side. Okay. In fact, Adam really enjoys the design side, right?
Yeah.
So preconceived sort of stereotypes that they have about what role a woman should be playing. Okay, fine, it's a girl in a tech company, but what role could possibly be playing there, and
Yeah.
what role could yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about mentors along the way. So, given that there weren't a lot of women that were in the tech industry, who were some people that, lifted you up, gave you advice, kind of set the direction for you, or just kind of were a sounding board, honestly?
I mean, honestly, I was pretty much thrown in the deep end.
Yeah.
And um now it's different. Over the years I've met a lot of women from the industry. I've been parts of different programs. Karan Das was one of them, where I met it was this like women entrepreneurship challenge, so I met all these other entrepreneurs from very different fields in life, but
Yeah.
still female entrepreneurs who were doing their own thing. So there was a lot of yeah, so but that's all very recent. To say that when I started out I had any sort of mentor or guidance would just be incorrect, because I didn't.
Yeah.
And also at least in Pakistan it's different now, but or maybe, that's what I thought, people weren't very open to helping other people. right? So that was the problem. People weren't very open to helping other people. If anything, I remember if I ever went and spoke to people about my idea, they would always list 10 reasons why it wouldn't work,
Mhm.
or 10 reasons why I couldn't do it, or why I wouldn't, be able to beat my competitors or compete with them. So I just stopped speaking to people. I just stopped talking to them about it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but over the years, I've really come across some amazing women and some great men too, who've
Yeah, of
really
course.
sort of I think, but it's also when they take you seriously. So when they see you doing something and they take you seriously, they're like, okay, she's worth my time now, let's sit down and speak to her.
Yeah,
But when I started out, I mean, what, I was 25. Yeah, I was 25 when I started out, and it was just like, oh, will this even go anywhere? Like, so
yeah,
yeah, no. The first couple of years, if anything, it was just a lot of people just putting you down.
yeah.
So that's speaking to them.
It's
But on the flip
interesting.
side,
Yeah, go ahead.
now I am a part of like at least 5 different like programs where there's a lot of mentorship going on. There's like this thing called Women's Digital League. I help them out. Maria Umar, she runs that. She's someone I've like worked very closely with over the years, on different programs and stuff. So yeah, I mean, so, and she's definitely someone, who fights for female inclusion in tech. And, I get also half the interviews I do or half the panels I'm on, they'll be like, Maria Umar fought with us because we didn't have any women. And
Good for her.
because, and we used to say, we don't know any women in this field. And then so she would like literally push me into places, be like, no, she is the girl, making apps, making websites, and those, to include her.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she's someone who really yeah, sort of would encourage me. And yeah, that over, I mean, more so recently there's so many more, and now we have our own little community, and yeah, it's good.
Good. Yeah. So I was going to ask you about that. What is that like? Have you seen that shift happen where there, and I don't think this is specific to Pakistan, okay? I think um, even here, you do come across the women that don't support other women, that don't help each other out. I've experienced that where there's women who've kind of, paid their dues. So it was so hard for them 10 years ago or 15 years ago. They're like, you have to go through the ringer. You should have to go through this process that we went through in order for you to appreciate the success. In the recent years, I've seen that change where there's, more women that are willing to take on mentees in a more like official capacity and say, I'm going to dedicate an hour of my week in helping you because you're just starting out in your career. Is that something that you think has become better, or is there still like this competitive aspect?
Honestly, I definitely think it's become a lot better. You have all these, women in tech and this and that, and all these different Facebook groups where genuinely people want to help people out. People genuinely come up with their concerns and other people help them out. You have organizations like Karandas that are doing a lot for women, just female entrepreneurs, just not in the tech space, right? And
Yeah,
then so I mean, a lot of that, it is happening. And like I said, Maria's organization, they have cohorts of about 20 women, and every 6 months, they assign a mentor, a male or a female mentor, to each of those women, and sort of help them out with their business plans and just the basic level stuff. So yeah, so I definitely it's happening. And also, I feel like the general and sort of atmosphere now is that the at least I believe the more you help people, the more comes your way as well. And I feel like that I've seen an energy shift in people,
yeah,
more like a shift in terms of like whether they want to help or not help people. I feel like over the last couple of years, it's all about, sort of helping others and, being, just not, healthy competition instead of, I don't know, there's just this whole energy shift around the whole notion of helping people in your life.
yeah.
So I feel translates into work as well. Definitely. Like now, everyone around me, like there's so many people I could just pick up and call, and I know they would be there to help. And all women, all very successful, amazing women,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so wonderful to hear that, that that camaraderie and that allyship exists in Pakistan now. It's as an expat for someone like me, like honestly, it's so exciting because like I said, I didn't come back for 10 years. So I feel like there's like this whole chunk of time that Pakistan stood still for me. And then I went back last year and I was like, wow, this is
So you liked back to?
what's that?
I'm saying you liked what you came back to?
I did, you know, and I also really appreciated the fact that I could still slip into the comfort with my friends, where I could still be myself. They were meeting my husband for the first time, who's from here, and you know, it just felt really comfortable and easy. But then there's this evolution that's happened, I feel, especially around the women in Pakistan and the way that they're feeling a little bit more empowered, which is just so fabulous. And honestly, one of the reasons why I kicked off this platform is kind of twofold. So one has been, you know, I'm in tech, I'm a woman in tech. There's not a lot of women that look like me in leadership roles, even today. I can count the number of brown and black women that are in leadership roles across tech in general here in the Valley. And then I think the Pakistani side of me was like, there's something happening in our society back home that is kind of is pulling me, right? And it was seeing women that I've grown up with, whether I was close to them, friends with them or not, but seeing them kind of coming into their own and empowering the next generation. So I've got nieces in Pakistan, right? 16 and 12, and these are the girls that are now going to be looking up to some of the women that, you know, I grew up with, that are openly talking about things like mental health, that are normalizing, you know, what it means to be an independent woman. And that's kind of what the Pakistan chapter about this whole initiative is talking to those women.
You know, and also I feel like something that used to come up for me a lot, which just thrown me off a little initially, and now it just, you know, it just taken in my stride, is that a lot of people, especially, so people put you in boxes, right? Like, especially people who you've been to school with, and then they're very uncomfortable seeing you outside that box, or, you know, taking you seriously outside that box. Now, I could have whatever person I wanted to be in school. Then I went to college, then I came back, then I worked, you know, I'm allowed to evolve. But people sometimes are very uncomfortable, people who've known you from the past, right? So even from there, not that, you know, I faced any resistance because of that, but I would go into meetings and, you know, there were, you know, with people who were my seniors or even people who were with me in my batch in school, they'd be like, you know, Fatin, when we heard you were doing this, it didn't make any sense, because we were like, what is Fatin doing in tech? What is Fatin even doing working? What is Fatin even, you know? And I was like, what are you guys based on what I was like in grade 11? I was a kid. I was 16 years
Exactly.
old. So I feel like that happens a lot as well, you know. And then if I really sit back and think about it, you know, there's some kids in school who are really good students, or, you know, some, you know, and you see them a certain way. There's a certain seriousness that you see attached, you know, to their personalities. And then, so even just sort of breaking out of that is also interesting. People, I don't know if it's, I mean, I'm sure it's like that for men as well. But yeah, so that's definitely, it's been interesting. So
You're
a lot of the
preaching to the choir on that one about, you know, like fitting into a box. They assume
yeah,
that you're supposed to,
yeah,
and it does exist here, but to a lesser degree. You know, letting your freak flag fly over here is rewarded a little bit, and being outside of the box is rewarded. So
also I
I've
think the
worked
difference,
with a lot of
yeah, the
people
difference
that don't
is,
check all the boxes.
yeah, that, you know, there's so many more people there, that the chances of you interacting with people who you went to high school with would probably be much less
Yeah,
than in, you know, a place like Pakistan, right?
yeah,
So I feel like that's why it would keep coming back. They'd be like,
yeah,
you really, yeah, you this, you know. You'd be like, yeah.
yeah.
uh,
I
and
know the feeling. It's funny because I've experienced some of that. Again, I haven't been there very long, but I noticed when I came back last year, you know, I'm certainly not who I was in
yeah,
high school.
and
It's like a
like,
completely different
oh
human.
God, you're doing amazing work. We would have never expected this off of you. And I'm just, okay, is that a compliment? Is that okay? I'll just go with it. I mean,
Go
it's
with it.
fine. you know.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's like a backhanded compliment because it's like, okay, or they won't actually. I think one of the things that I noticed, we were in like we were at somebody's house, and I noticed that we started talking about tech, and even the women in the group started kind of deferring to my husband when it came to like knowing, because he's in tech as well. When it came to knowing about, what it's like to work over here, what the industry is doing, and
Happens
it
all
was
the time.
really fascinating.
Honestly, again, I work with a lot of like retail brands, right, which have a lot of female like designers. I kid you not, the women, not all of them, I love some of them out there, okay.
Yeah,
uh, they've been great to work with, but a lot of them defer to Adam, my partner,
yeah,
whereas uh, the men have eventually, sort of, I mean, it doesn't make a difference, me or Adam, they'll talk to both of us about whatever they
yeah.
want to talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Fatin. I appreciate it.
Not
It
at all.
was so much fun. Good luck with your next venture.